Hi, I'm James Schillinglaw, and I'm here with Peter Wells, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Dragonslayer. Now, what's Dragonslayer? You're going to find out about all that and more on Insider Travel Report. Well, Peter, first of all, how are you and where are you?
Thanks, James. Thanks for having me here. I'm doing great. I'm in Denver, Colorado. We have a lot of haze out there right now. That's our biggest problem, is the haze from all the forest fires.
Oh, wow. It's reaching all the way, all the way to Colorado. Oh, my God.
Well, it's the California fires, and we also have our share of fires up here in the mountains. It's just really dry, really dry.
Well, that's too bad. Well, we don't have that quite yet in New York right now, but maybe the winds will come this way. Now, we wanted to talk to you about, first of all, what Dragonslayer is, and then really you just introduced a new technology product that really I think is going to be very useful. It promises to provide information on all the federal, state, and local rules, as well as many countries, on COVID-19 for travelers. Tell us a little bit about that and how it works.
Right. What Dragonslayer, our goal is to really help the travel industry get back on its feet through providing accurate, timely information on what it takes to travel to other states, and importantly, international travel. There's 27 countries right now that Americans can travel to. But the question is, under what terms can you go? Typically, it's multiple PCR tests right now, and there's a lot of paperwork. Sometimes you have to download an app, but it varies across all these countries. Also, what do you expect when you get there? Are the beaches open? Is there a curfew? So this is really designed to help people with information on where to go and their options.
And then that goes for countries and obviously for U.S. states as well, right?
Well, yeah, it's a bit of a Rubik's Cube. It's sort of like, I'm going to quarantine you. No, I'm going to quarantine you. Florida and New York. I know you're in New York, so you experience that, right?
We quarantine everybody here in New York.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't mess around.
Well, wait a minute. No, Colorado, we can come. So thank you for that. I'm planning
you're
my
welcome.
visit.
You're one of the few, and sadly, I've actually come back from a couple of trips and realized, that was quarantined, and then I have to see if I can observe it or not. And indeed, just the other day, our Governor Cuomo just put a quarantine on all international flights.
Oh.
So now nobody can, I assume no people can come from abroad. And if you do decide to go international, at least for certain countries, and it's a very limited list, they do a list of the countries that you can come from without getting quarantined, not the ones you can't, because they have such a long list. And that just happened the other day. I came back from Mexico the other day, and they didn't have this policy, and now they do. So we're going to see how that happens. But tell me about this and how you. Obviously we're in the age of COVID here. How did you come up with the idea for the product, and how did you realize it? How did you make it happen?
Yeah, so I love to travel. I had actually launched Dragonslayer as a travel operator back in December of 2019, and we were going great for about 3 months, and then, like everyone else, we came to a full stop. And in those months or weeks sitting around thinking about what would it take for me personally to get back on a plane, to go somewhere, first and foremost, I would need information. I think the educated traveler is the best traveler, because if you feed them with information about where it's safer to go, it's nowhere is 100% safe. Example is Bermuda. Bermuda has had 180 cases, period. And that's through all these 6 months of COVID. They've done an excellent job, and they've been open to Americans travel for last couple months. So There are countries that are safe to go to, or safer, I should say. And I realized we needed some way of consolidating that information and getting it out there.
Now, obviously this is a ton of information, and it changes, as we know, almost daily. How do you compile all this, and how is it updated with this tool?
It's a non-trivial task. We do have some automation in the tool, but a lot of that also is just the team. We have a really crack team of experienced travelers, and we've just done, we check over 100 sites every day, actually more like 200 sites every day if you count U.S. State Department, the local government sites. Local newspapers are a great source of information. And there's also some other sites we go to, and we've got some automation, as I mentioned, and that's updated daily. So it is also part of our goal to help crowdsource this. So what we ask, if you're a travel agent, we have an insights button, excuse me, on the app, and we ask for those insights because we had a travel agent who gave us feedback on St. Lucia just the other day. They now allow you to go to multiple resorts.
Right.
That second resort can be not on the government list of approved properties. So that was information that you can't glean from any site, but it was from a traveler who was actually there.
No, and it's well. Hopefully, I gave you that New York governor stuff. If it wasn't new, you can add that.
Thank you.
No charge. It's great. But yeah, no, it's crazy because it wasn't. We did an article actually, well, a couple months back. One of my partner slaved over it on all the Caribbean islands, and by the time he finished, it was all fake. And it was like, it just keeps on changing. But it's great that you have this new tool. And let's talk about this. Now, this is an app that you can put on a smartphone or a laptop. How is this information delivered to the customer?
So first and foremost, we recognize that the travel professional, the travel advisors want it on their desktop. So we had to have a desktop version. And then we mobile optimized it, meaning it runs on your iPhone, just like an app. We also have an app for Android. So we have multiple ways of getting you the information. But the primary way is if you go on DragonslayerTravel.com, you can just sign up for a 14-day free trial and check it out for yourself.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the target market for this really is, to a large extent, it could be travel advisors and, of course, their clients. Mm-hmm. Is that true? So is it something that advisors should get and then they can recommend to their clients to get as well?
I think so. We've talked to literally scores of travel agents, and they are all looking for this information, and they're spending hours a day. We view it as a productivity tool, and for them, I think it's going to be a gold mine of information, and we absolutely encourage them to have their VIP clients or all their clients download it, because there are going to be people, James, who will not travel until there's a vaccine, and I totally understand that. And there's some fearless travelers out there. It's those in the middle that are a little hesitant, aren't sure. If you provide them with this information, I think it gives them the confidence to consider traveling again.
Now, can you tell me a little about the pricing for this? How much is it for the app? And I guess you can download it from any app store, to get it, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, on Google Play. So if you have an Android phone, go to Google Play. If you have an iPhone, it'll just run. You just run it in your browser, your Safari browser. So you just go to our website, DragonslayerTravel.com, and you can sign up, and then you get access on your smartphone or on your desktop. And my philosophy was one Starbucks coffee a month is the pricing. So on an annual basis, it's $69.99 a month, which breaks down to about $5, $5.50 a month. If you want to just do a monthly subscription, it's $9.99.
Okay. Well, I guess I must be getting more expensive drinks at Starbucks because.
Well, you're in New York.
I know.
More expensive.
I'm lying about that because actually I hate when I'm standing in front of somebody and they get something that's really complicated and it's going to cost a lot and it's a venti, Yeah. But no, it sounds like a very affordable price for the information you're providing, which everybody wants to know, and you got to keep track of it. Certainly, travel advisors do. And, people who like to travel want to know where to go. And especially now, even with the states, you just don't know. And New York is one of the more militant states, but there are definitely some other ones out there that you don't know what the quarantine regulations are. You don't know what the COVID testing is. You don't know what you have to fill out. It's constantly changing. And as we know ourselves, just the other day, the Dominican Republic opened up a little more. And now I'm considering a trip there in general. And then, of course, we have a problem here with COVID testing is that they all want within 48 hours or 72 hours. And that sometimes is a little challenging to get here in our little bit of a backwards U.S. where it's sometimes difficult to find that.
Yeah, it is hard. And but as to that moving target, it gets complicated. I know Costa Rica recently opened, but only to a handful of U.S. states. So for a travel professional to be able to answer the question, where can I go? That's a hard question to answer because it also depends on where you're from. And we do have all that information in the app.
Yeah, well, and I remember Costa Rica. I remember that case very well, where Costa Rica opened with certain states, and then they added some more. And who knows what will happen next week? Maybe they'll subtract more. That's what we happen here in New York, where they add states, they subtract them. You don't know what's on that at week to week. You don't know. Now, obviously, the U.S. nation. So, how many countries do you cover in general?
We're covering 124 right now,
and you said 27 are good for U.S. entry, right?
Yeah, without quarantine. Now, there are other countries, and we're going to add that filter in our next release next month. There can be people who are taking long-term trips, like 2 months, and don't mind a 14-day quarantine. Right. Some of these countries are allowing you to quarantine at the resort itself. So I don't know if that's really truly a quarantine, but the 27 that we show are open to U.S. travelers without quarantine.
Well, if I have 14 days to quarantine at a major resort, I'm perfectly happy with that. So, and I've always said, you want me to go to Europe? If you can quarantine me in a luxury French chateau for 14 days, I'm there. So
why not? Yeah.
You're talking about that. What a lot of us wanted to go to the international luxury travel market in Cannes, which unfortunately just went virtual. But we all wanted to figure out ways to go there, and we knew we had the EU quarantine. And as I said to the organizers, I said, put me in a luxury hotel on the French Riviera for 14 days. I think I'll deal with it. But unfortunately now we can't. Now, I do have some plans possibly to go to Portugal and Croatia, which are two areas that people say, we think that there's not a quarantine. There's COVID testing and there's some other things going on, they're all part of Europe. So we're very confused about that. So, now talk a little bit about your background, if you could, in technology and travel.
Yeah, I spent 20 plus years in the tech industry. I love technology, but I also love travel. Traveled since I was a little kid. My dad was in the State Department at one point in his career. And, as little kids, we went to Europe for a month. And boy, that just, as a kid, having your eyes open to castles and feather beds and these little town squares, it just made an indelible impression. So I love travel, 43 countries and counting. My goal is to, combine technology to help travel, again, get back on its feet, but I have some other plans to enhance the travel experience once we get past the COVID-19 era.
Now, tell us a little bit about how you formed Dragonslayer. You said you started as sort of a regular travel company. You've gone into the technology side, but tell us about Dragonslayer and how you formed it.
Yeah, it was designed to be I thought there was a missing piece of what in travel. I personally like experiential travel. I love being able to do something that's just, provides you that wanderlust, that wonderment. We've all experienced it before. And I love beaches just as much as I'm a big scuba diver, so I love the beach as well. But the idea of the original Dragonslayer was to provide a repository of really cool experiences. These are things like water safaris in Botswana, washing an elephant in Myanmar, taking a ship that has a submarine underneath the ice in Antarctica. These are unique opportunities for people to experience something different, drive a different supercar every day in the south of France. And what we did was we used AI technology to help understand what type of traveler you are. Are you active? Are you adventure? Are you chill? Or are you cultural? These are the kinds of, and we're all a combination thereof, but we help match like with Netflix and make smart recommendations for experiences. And we were just launching in December, as I mentioned, and we were going great. And then, but I haven't left that forever. I'm going to bring that technology
back to it because, as you said, experiential travel is really where it's at. It's really what it's been the buzzword for a number of years at luxury travel conferences, like Virtuoso, and everybody's talking about it. And I do hope you get back to doing that because I certainly understand that aspect. And so where does the name come from?
It's a lot of people like to ask that. 2 years ago, when I was formulating the idea, my girlfriend and I were binge watching Game of Thrones, and it was
very dangerous.
I know. So I had to come up, and in tech, you have companies like Google and Amazon. And, these names that, I didn't want to be travel.com, or I know there's already travel.com, and there's great web names out there, but I wanted to be a little different, a little more memorable. I'll tell you a quick story, though. I did it during season 6, and we're watching season 6, and the dragons were really bad. I don't want to be a spoiler for people who haven't watched it, but the dragons are these city burning terrible beasts like dragons typically are. And in season 7 they kind of became pets. It was like, uh-oh, I already named the company, but don't worry, season 8 they become dragons again.
They go back again.
Yeah, so, and I like the name now because the dragon we're trying to slay is this COVID-19 beast.
Well, certainly it works well for your newest product with this COVID-19 information. Now, anything else you'd like to tell travel advisors about Dragonslayer, this product, and what they could do with it?
Yeah, we welcome feedback. We were a travel company, and I have travel advisors on my team. We like to believe we understand as much as we can about your job, but please give us feedback. We want you to try it. 14-day free trial at dragonslayertravel.com, and your feedback is what will help us keep this fresh as far as information. We can do what we can do, but if you have travelers out there, I just ask that let's build that community of travel slayers who can help work together to bring this industry back.
Okay, great. And let's just repeat that website one more time for them all, and also how you can get it on
Sure.
other downloading in an app and things like that.
Sure. So it is dragonslayertravel.com, and you'll see a sign up button right on our homepage. It's a very simple, straightforward process, and it's 14 days free trial. Then if you have an Android phone, go to the Play Store and you can download Dragonslayer Travel app. And then if you have an iPhone, simply open your Safari browser and go to dragonslayertravel.com after you've signed up, and it'll just pop up on your phone, and it's rendered really nicely for the iPhone. So if you happen to be out at lunch talking to a potential client perhaps, and they say, well, what's open? You can just whip out your app, and there's a filter that says these countries are open. So just turn on that filter and you'll see the 27 countries that are open.
Sounds great. I'm going to go to my iPhone right there. It's staring at me in the face, and put it on because I travel a lot, and very often, I was flying back from Nevada the other day, and I didn't realize there was a quarantine on Nevada, so in New York State. But then I flew back from Mexico, and there's no quarantine on that until now. So you got to keep it straight. Peter, good luck with this new product, and good luck in getting back to your original idea of experiential travel, because that sounded great as well. And we hope to talk to you in the future to see where you're at and what's going on. And again, thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Thanks, James.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.